you should know about me is that I love recording vlogs of my adventures. However, I hate editing vlogs of my adventures because I have ADHD and editing gives me zero dopamine, so it's like pulling teeth. Which is to say that I vlog a lot of my adventures, but y'all won't generally see the video of those adventures until a few months later, which is why this vlog is from April and is being released in July. But anyhow.
Crystal, Tori, and I have been friends for a while, but the three of us have never hung out together in person. I'd say I'm a slight Rent head, and a few years ago, I even performed in the ensemble of a local production of Rent. Oh, did I not mention that this is also a little bit about the musical Rent? Yeah, more on that in a second. To say that Tori is a huge Rent head would be an understatement. Rent has been a very big part of their life, but they had never seen Without You before. Crystal had never seen Rent at all, but she loves music, she's an amazing singer, and she had also never been to Boston before. So when we found out that Anthony Rapp would be in Boston performing Without You, his self-written and performed one-man musical based on his memoir about his life and his experiences as one of the original cast members of Rent, we immediately booked a trip to go see it together. We arrived on a Friday, but the show wasn't until Sunday. Once we all got to Boston, we checked into the oldest and fanciest hotel I've ever been to, the Omni Parker House in downtown Boston. So here are a few fun facts I learned from Wikipedia about the Omni Parker House while I was writing this voiceover. The Omni Parker House is America's oldest operating hotel. Sort of. The Parker House Hotel was opened in 1855, and it was very successful. They invented the Boston cream pie, coined the word scrod, and Charles Dickens even lived there for 5 months and recited and performed a Christmas carol there for the first time ever. And then the Parker House building was demolished in the mid-1920s to be replaced in 1927 with the building that now stands there today. They did keep a single wing of the original hotel, which remained open for business until the new building was completed. So even though almost the entire building was demolished and reconstructed, technically speaking, the Omni Parker House has been continuously open since 1855. Or so they say. This hotel has such a rich history that I can't tell you all of it, otherwise it would take up the entire video. But if you think it sounds cool, I would strongly encourage you to read more about the Omni Parker House on Wikipedia like I did. It was really interesting. Once we got settled in, the three of us decided to watch Rent, that way Crystal had the context before we went and saw Without You. So on Friday night, we watched Act 1 of the final Broadway performance of Rent, with lots of pausing for fantastic commentary by Tori, who knows more about Rent than anyone I've ever met, which is one of my favorite things about them. We also made sure Crystal appreciated the parts that needed to be appreciated the most, and she started to understand what we love about it, which is always a great feeling. On Saturday, we got ready for adventure, which always begins one shoelace at a time.
Here we go, there's a loop. We got the loop.
Oh God.
We're gonna swoop and pull.
Oh God.
We got it, we
Oh
got it, we got
God. Okay.
it, come on. Woo!
Got it.
We began our adventures by throwing tea into the harbor, as is tradition. Only the tea leaves though, no garbage. Then we made our way to Quincy Market, where we saw Violin Viv performing, I had a wicked good lobster roll. And then we browsed some of the shops, and me being me, I bought some pretty rocks. As we were leaving Quincy Market, we saw another amazing street performer who goes by Josh on Buckets. We took a quick break in a silly video together, before heading to the New England Aquarium, which was incredible. Tori was the only one of us who had been here before, so they told us all about how the center of the aquarium is a giant cylindrical fish tank that you can walk to the top of. But before making the trek to the top of the tank, we checked out some of the other animals, like the penguins, the chillest sea lion I have ever seen. He was absolutely eating up the attention. And a giant whale skeleton. But more on that in a minute, because we began our ascent to the top of the tank with a high-speed chase. And once we reached the top, the view was absolutely gorgeous. This tank houses not only a wide variety of fish, but also a bunch of different rays and even a sea turtle. Remember that whale skeleton? The first video I took was at the bottom of this tank, so this second video gives you a little better idea of just how big this tank actually is. Upon descending Fish Tank Mountain, we became frenemies with anemones, horsed around with the seahorse, and expressed an overall interest in invertebrates. After the aquarium, we went out for dinner, admired Crystal's fancy manicure, and then made our way back to the hotel for Act 2 of the final Broadway performance of Rent.
Hot, 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 sweat, sweet, wet, 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 red heat.
Which Tori had specifically chosen for us to watch not only because it was a fantastic performance,
You're not ready. You're not ready because this was the last Broadway performance.
but also because Anthony Rapp was there, along with most of the original cast of Rent.
But it's not over yet.
And the cast of the final Broadway performance on closing night, along with the original cast of Rent, sang Seasons of Love together on stage.
That's the original made me there.
Oh, yeah. Then finally, it was Sunday, the day we went to see Without You. We arrived at the Calderwood Pavilion, took a photo together out front, and then made our way inside. We were all excited, but Tori was definitely the most excited. We even had seats right in the front. And this was my face after crying through literally the entire show. It absolutely wrecked me emotionally in the best way possible, and I would highly recommend you all go see it if you're able to. After taking some time to recover from the collective emotional turmoil we experienced, we went out to explore Boston one more time for our last night. We checked out King's Chapel Burial Ground, which was closed for the evening, but is an old colonial Boston graveyard across the street from our hotel, where I took some spooky photos and video. And Tori took a very meta photo of me taking the spooky photos and video. We ventured a little further away from the hotel and saw some T that was next to the letter T, which was in front of the T train station. We saw a building with an unnervingly transparent stairwell.
Why did they give it the windows? Oh.
Some graffiti that asked a surprisingly existential question.
Hey, you excited? Nope.
And of course, it wouldn't be a Boston trip without having at least one Boston Fire Department truck fly by with the sirens blaring. I'm not entirely sure what this statue was, but Tori blended right into it, and I took an artsy photo of them posing with it, which is now one of my favorite photos of them. On our walk back to the hotel, we got another visit from the Boston Fire Department. I did say at least one, and then we ordered a bunch of takeout food and had a final night feast while watching the movie version of Rent.
That is seasoned basmati. Yes, it is.
Tori's flight back home was Monday morning, but Crystal's wasn't until the afternoon. So Monday morning we said goodbye to Tori and then spent the remaining time we had in Boston doing some final exploring. We wound up back at King's Chapel Burial Ground during their actual open hours. And I got this cool video that I didn't discover until after filming this shot that this is actually a subway ventilation shaft. I now regret getting that close to it. The burial ground was really interesting though. Some of the tombstones had names of some of the people who first founded Boston, and the dates on them were all centuries old. It was a really cool walkthrough. Then Crystal and I had lunch, and just as we were finishing lunch, the eclipse started.
Babe, don't look up at the sun during the eclipse without your eclipse glasses on.
We watched it for a few minutes, then said goodbye to Boston before I dropped Crystal off at the airport and drove back home. After we were all back home, Tori asked me what my favorite part of the trip was. In just a couple of days, we had had some amazing adventures. But by far, my favorite part of the weekend was both getting to watch Tori experience something that held such incredible meaning to them, and getting to watch Crystal fall in love with all of it for the first time. Because while Without You was incredible, the best part of the entire weekend was being able to see the joy on my friends' faces and being able to experience it with them.